Hey guys, welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are taking a look at a game called Red Asphalt that was actually released on the PlayStation back in around November 1998, and it was developed and published by Interplay Interactive. Now, this game is actually kind of more like a vehicular combat style game, but it mixes vehicular combat with actual racing. It has a similar type of preference to the likes of even Twisted Metal, with the likes of the combat aesthetics within the game itself, but it focuses heavily more so on actual racing environments because again it uses more linear type tracks and so forth, unlike the Twisted Metal games. Another game that it very would be very similar to it would be the likes of, if you've ever played Impact Racing. I've actually done a previous video on that. It was one of the first videos I ever done on the channel. I'll make sure to drop a link to it down in the description. Even though it is a very different style of game, but it is also futuristic, and it does use combat aesthetics, like you're shooting like lasers and bullets and so forth at other cars to try and destroy them, to move them out of your way so that you can try and complete the races and so forth and complete objectives and that. So this game has primarily got the same kind of vibe to it. Now the graphics, it's kind of got like a monotone kind of like more like cyberpunk style kind of vibe to it. The the graphics they got a kind of like a grainy aesthetic to it. It's very futuristic looking, but again it's more, even at that, it's more or less kind of set in a more post-apocalyptic style environment, which is primarily a main focus of a lot of these style of combat games. They're all kind of heavily based on that post-apocalyptic era kind of fictional based kind of environment and so forth. Now it's actually not a bad game. It's actually decent. It is difficult in terms of the enemy AI because it is quite difficult to actually win races in it. That's the one thing I've learned about it. Now I never owned the original game, but I do remember always going into the likes of the game stores whenever I would go like hunting for games and be looking for something to buy. You always seen this, like even like a discounted version of it. You'd always see a copy of this somewhere like on the store shelves. So the game did sell, but I don't think it sold all that great. I do remember my first ever experience with it was actually on a demo. I do remember it was actually a playable demo on one of the monthly UK PlayStation magazine demo discs that I used to collect every month. And there were a number of titles on this, and I do remember actually this one in particular, and I do remember actually playing it quite a bit. It was kind of unusual to kind of see it at first. I do remember that. But I found that the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. But again, I do remember it being very, very difficult. It actually was quite a tough game to actually play. It has a load of kind of like neat kind of features to it. Again, like with the combat style, you can do a lot of damage to cars. You can like obviously destroy cars on the tracks. You get special weapons and special abilities that can actually help you progress. Like you can get power-ups to speed up your progress, or to like take enemies out like with very few hits, or literally like one hit. Even throughout the tracks as well, that you can take, you have access to like different routes that you can take as well. What also happens as you go through the tournaments, when you're playing more of the tournament modes, you can play over the same tracks, but what actually happens is as each race goes along, you unlock a different variation of the track. A lot of these games used to do that back in the days, even like older arcade games, even though they're quite different, like the Ridge Racer, they would use the same track, the base track, but then they would open up other areas to it as you went through the races. This here does the same type of thing, because you would start off pretty much in the same area, depending on the track that you're in, but then you will actually unlock or go through different kind of areas that will have like different surfaces, or like tunnels, or more jumps and so forth. So it kind of does add to the replayability of the title. Now there are different types of environments. Just this one here was just one of the first levels in the game as well when you're playing through the tournament. But you do unlock more features, you do unlock more cars and so forth as you go through the game. The one thing that I will admit that I found little bit kind of a gripe as well is with the likes of the options menu when you're starting out the game, because I do remember like when I played the original demo, and a lot of the features were locked out, that you couldn't actually go into it, so you literally only had to pick a car. There wasn't much you could do unless you just jumped straight into a race. But actually having played this game, if you're not familiar with the options menu, it can be quite fiddly trying to figure out exactly what you need to do. because some of the menus, when with the selections, they're kind of in awkward places, so you'll end up hitting the wrong button and going back over yourself and going back to previous menus more than actually selecting what you need to select and moving back out. And that's kind of like just one of the main issues of the game, that it's the menu system is difficult to kind of get to grips with, because you will actually make a lot of mistakes. Like, I remember when I actually was trying to record the video for this game, I actually found myself stuck in the menu for about 20 minutes trying to figure out how to like pick the character and how to actually solidify him as the character that I wanted, and even how to actually select the cars and stuff, because it doesn't give you a really clear indication as to how to get everything set up straight away. Like, the menus are very fancy, but I think what actually happened is that they focus more on the fancy visuals and aesthetics rather than the actual simplicity of making the game easy to use, because it is a bit of a faff trying to just get a race loaded up on it. But once you get a race loaded up, it's actually fine and you can play away and you'll have a bit of fun with it. But it does, after a while, because it's the same style of game. Now, like, I found it fun, but even after a while, I will admit, I found I nearly wanted to go and play something else, because it is very much the same kind of style over and over again, and you do play in very similar style of tracks. Now, it may not be for everybody, but some people will enjoy it, others may just not like it as much, but it all depends on your own preference, so it's totally up to yourself. But I would highly recommend that you give this a go if you're into vehicular combat racing. So I'd love to know your thoughts on Red Asphalt for the PlayStation. Did you enjoy it back in the day, and if so, what are your thoughts on it? I'd love to hear your experiences down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be updated whenever I release future content, and also make sure to share the video, as I will be exploring a lot more of these quirky old school style games and sharing my thoughts and experiences with everyone. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.
White Wall.